The question that Jesus asked 2000 years ago is equally valid for our time today. Can a blind man lead another blind? Will they not both fall into the pit? Are we today people who are filled with insights, leading the other in the proper channel of situations of life?
मूलं समीक्ष्य यत्र गम्यताम् सर्वेषां मार्गं तथैव प्रवृत्तिः मूलं समीक्ष्य यत्र गम्यताम् सर्वेषां मार्गं तथैव प्रवृत्तिः.
Sisters and brothers, a very hearty welcome to each one of you to the 8th Sunday of the ordinary time in the liturgical year. A few years back, I was sitting with a young priest of our congregation, watching a World Cup under-19 cricket match between West Indies and Australia. As the match was progressing, this young priest, who might have been at the early 30s of his life, made a very interesting statement to me. He said, how emotionally are these young players expressing their feelings in the court? I just looked at him. He's only in his early 30s. But I thought within myself, wisdom is already dawning within. The ability to discern certain situations, certain actions and reactions in the concrete context of one's life is what we call wisdom. And today, through the Gospel of the day, I'm listening to another young man of early 30s, Jesus Christ. He says, can a blind man lead another blind man? This, in fact, is a pearl of wisdom. Very often when I read the Gospel, I do not mostly understand the veracity of it, just because my readings of the Gospel passages are very casual. But the moment I take a little bit of time to dwell on it and to assess the meaning of those words that are spoken by Jesus, I begin to understand how deep are the insights that he is communicating to us. Jesus is asking, can a blind man lead another blind man? What does it mean? It means you who have no sight. Remember, he means to say, you who have no insight for that matter, will you be able to see what the other is doing in the right perspective? How are you able to judge the other and make a statement about the other regarding his or her action when your own actions are not properly defined and interpreted? It's in this context I read the first reading of today from the book of Sirach. There's a very well nuanced statement there. It says, the quality of a fruit discloses the cultivation the tree has received. So too, the quality of a person's speech discloses the thought of his mind. How wonderfully Jesus is connecting those aspects of one's own integrity into the concrete context of one's life. How can you ever say to your brother that there is a speck in your eye when you yourself are locked off with a log in your own eye? Yes, this invitation of Jesus today to have a self-reflection reminds us of the necessity to be people of integrity. I just evaluate these statements of Jesus in the concrete context of our own country, our own families, our own religious life today. My dear brothers and sisters, in the recent times of our own nation, we see a good number of elections happening. What was the prime thrust of these elections? Freebies. Promising one after the other a lot of offers to the people, to the voters, and making them get allured with one party or the other so that the particular candidate of that party would win the election. But is there any education happening in this kind of an election campaigning? Is there a promise that is made to secure lasting impact in the life of a nation? In short, the question is this: are the leaders of the nations themselves leaders who are having sight and insight? There are various kinds of leaderships that are presented before us. There are authoritarian leaders, leaders who dictate terms for others, who never will ever get down from their chairs and be able to see the situations of the people around them. Instead, very autocratically demand subjection from the part of the followers. There are also leaders who are of laissez-faire mindset, leaders who leave the followers of free hand. Tell them, do whatever you want in accordance with your convenience. Therefore, the followers are not properly organized. There are leaders who are in fact authoritative, which in fact is a studied leadership, a well-trained attitude looking for base where the followers can stand up, and from there they can launch into certain aspects of their life. There are transformational leaders, leaders who commit themselves to innovative and creative ways so that the followers can also take charge of their lives in the consequent times. There are servant leaders, leaders who are able to go away from the so-called power positions, bend their knees before others, and wash the feet of the others. Where are you standing today? The question that Jesus asked 2,000 years ago is equally valid for our time today. Can a blind man lead another blind? Will they not both fall into the pit? Are we today people who are filled with insights, leading the other in the proper channel of situations of life? In the concrete context of our nation, India, we need to think in these terms of leadership qualities that emerge from commitment to the people who are entrusted to our care, to become servant leaders like Jesus. Let's get back to our own families too. It matters a lot to parents of today. Very often we say parenting has become very, very difficult in the concrete context of our life. Children have become the so-called Z category, the new generation, who are no more willing to accept the old pattern and traditions of the time. But the only way parenting can happen in the right perspective, leading by example, my own lifestyle should be a sterling evidence for the children to emulate certain enthusiasm to live their life in the worthy manner. How many parents of today can say that I live an exemplary life? Perhaps it needs to begin with my availability to the family members, the need to spend time with the children, with the life partner, but above all, participating in the family prayer, sharing the meal together. You are able to lead the other through your very example. Remember the question of Jesus: can a blind man lead another? It's never possible. Think about the possibilities of our religious life today. We are at a very vulnerable time today. Very many of us say people are no more interested to join religious life today. We need to ask the question as well, why? Are there not contradicting situations emerging in the context of our own religious life today? Are there not situations where we are not exemplary enough to understand and to live the values of the gospel in our own personal commitment? Is the number more important than the quality of our lifestyle? Are we living out the quality of our life by showing forth the tree from which we derive the fruits? Yes, my dear sisters and brothers, when we see religious politics today, mere administrative competence as the priority of religious life, forgetting the foundational values of community life, prayer, and religious traditions, we would enter into that blindness of our life. Time for us to challenge ourselves today. I look at Jesus once again to see where does he get the wisdom to speak these words? Most probably from that holy family of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. Joseph, a committed hard worker available for the family. Mary, the woman of meditation. Naturally, the outcome of it, a son who grows in wisdom and maturity, a holistically grown personality. Can we today look into ourselves and say that we see? Are we blind people who are trying to lead others also into the same fate? Let's open up our eyes. Above all, let's have the insight to live the vision of Jesus in our personal lives today. Let the quality of the tree that we are from be shown for the life that we lead today in our concrete life situation. Amen.
मूलं समीक्ष्य यत्र गम्यता सर्वेषां मार्गं तथैव प्रवृत्तिः